time to start there, just about. We got 31 people out of like 36, or 30 people out of 36. So I think we're like 6 down. Usually, like, I don't know, the roll's all over the place the first week. Pretty sure it jumped up right before class started, though, too. I don't think we had 36 people in this class until like a couple of days before. But you should have watched the 1A and the 1B video that I put out there. So hopefully, like, I think the 1A is a little more probably straightforward than the 1B. The 1B gets a little more convoluted and complicated.
Well, I understood it, but I just applying it is that I guess I had the trouble with it because I had to figure out which one it is. It's kind of hard.
Yeah, that's also a valid sort of thing. I feel like we're kind of working up to 1D, which is on analyzing arguments. And so I'm kind of giving you the tools. I'm kind of like handing you a hammer and a monkey wrench and being like, build it without telling you what to build, right? And so it might feel like you have the tools without knowing like what you're building yet. So if that's the sort of feeling you have, then that's completely valid. So on a little side note, we'll get through 1B. I'm a little bit behind putting the videos up. So I will get 1C and 1D up probably by the end of the day. I fully well intend to get the videos up before like this class or before the class that we're gonna do, if that makes sense. I always intend to be like one class ahead in the videos, basically. And I really did intend them to get them up like today, but I started feeling sick last night, and I decided to like I decided to sleep instead of getting work done, I guess is what I'm trying to say, so that I could actually be well and come to class today and hold class. It was one of those sorts of things. Do I continue working and potentially like get more sick, or do I like take a nap, try to rest?
No, I kind of like this online thing. You know, really, I do. I mean, it's not because we're in the COVID or anything like that. I like it because it takes. Okay, so my time is organized better because I don't have to like drive here, drive there, do this. You know, I can just stay here and like concentrate and get my work done. And like I got 4 classes, so it's like it's kind of you know, I'm late at night, sometimes late at night, but not as late as I would be if I had to come and go forth to class back and forth. It'd be real late.
Okay, so we're in here for an hour and 45. So I want to spend like, I don't know, I'm hoping to get maybe like the first part done in like 30 minutes. I think we could probably do that. 1A should be like the quick one, is what I'm hoping. Are there any questions over anything so far before we jump into things?
I have a question, actually.
Yeah, what's up?
So it's more to do with 1B.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make sure that I have this right, like when we're doing these truth tables and stuff, like the truth of whatever statement, like not logical truth, but whatever statement, we just kind of have to like put on the back burner, right? We're just purely looking this like at these statements from like a logistical or logical standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, 1B is kind of a weird one. They'll ask you if it's true in reality or not. They will ask you like sort of that kind of question. So when they ask that question, they want you to consider reality. But when we're like crunching these things, there's just sort of an algorithm to there, and we don't really care so much all the time whether it's true in reality or not.
Okay.
So if they ask you explicitly if it's true in reality, then they're asking you that. But if not, then we don't always care so much.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a bit of a weird thing, but
thanks.
And that goes back to like that deductive logic. Things are deductively true, right? And we can deduce things that actually aren't true. And it can be valid logic, but it's not sound. And like these are all words that will come up in 1D. So I'm like I said, I'm kind of giving you the tools and not really telling you what to build yet. So like there's a lot of sort of like missing pieces maybe that are happening. So let's get started. Yeah, sure. Any other questions before we get started? Well, my phone's not hooked up. Okay. Hook up your phone. And I always get like one student that just like, they see this and they see this logic and they're like, I thought this was a math class. And I'm like, yeah, that's a valid thing to think, I think, at this point. But like, if I'm being honest, like higher math is a lot more related to like this sort of thing than probably like what, like basic algebra or something like that. Well, it's an application, but like this is pretty much all we do in sort of higher math is math is just an application of logic to numerical sets. And so if you know set theory, you absolutely can do a lot of mathematics just knowing set theory. Or if you know mathematics, you know a lot about how to apply set theory. You can go into a symbolic logic course and ace that thing. I promise you. It's happened before. I told you I was a philosophy minor, so I'm really annoying. So my philosophy minor, I took a symbolic logic course, and we were doing exactly like verbatim the same thing we were doing in my math courses. The only difference was they used slightly different symbols, but this is the basis of sort of math. And what was it? Hilbert called it like meta math, right? When you talk about the math. This is how math is constructed. So maybe the connections aren't like readily like apparent, but they are sort of there. So for 11 through 20, they want us to identify premises, conclusions of the argument, briefly describe how the stated fallacy occurs in the argument, make up another argument that exhibits the same fallacy. So for a lot of these, I'm gonna kind of talk through them. I expect you to write something out, hopefully. But I'm just gonna kind of, yeah, I can hear.
Okay.
But we're just gonna kind of talk through them. So this first one is number 11 is an appeal to popularity. So this says Apple's iPhones outsell all other smartphones. So they must be the best smartphone on the market. So what is the conclusion to that statement? What are they concluding? What are they trying to claim?
They must be the best smartphones on the market.
Yep. And what are they basing that on?
That they sell the most.
Yeah, they outsell all of it. So what do they say? Identify premise and conclusion. Oh, I forgot what we're doing already. We're describing how the stated fallacy occurs in the argument. So why is that wrong? I think they want you to give like some kind of justification for why like that doesn't always match. Why would you say like that's not a thing? Why is that conclusion not supported by the premises? And just a heads up, I did have internet connection problems earlier, so if there's like some lagging out or something, just give me a heads up. It looks like it's
I got that right. Okay, I got that right. I got that right. Okay, so that's all right.
So why would this be wrong? Like, give me an example why that might be wrong.
Which one?
For the Apples and iPhones.
Because we don't have data to confirm that's what they're selling, that they're outselling everybody else. We don't have data for it.
So assume you do have the data. They're telling you that it is outselling everything else. Why would it not follow that it's the best smartphone?
You can't base something being the best off of sales.
Yeah, like quality ain't quantity, right? Something along those lines, right? Like I said, there's probably no definitive like right one answer or something, you know, for these things. You just have to kind of explain these things in your own words, and it has to make some sense, right? So like quality isn't quantity. So like give me another example of a appeal to popularity. What would be something else you could say this about?
Bandwagon effect.
Too many people at once. Annalena, go ahead.
The bandwagon effect. The more people buy it, the more others want to follow.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That could just be a bandwagon effect. There's other factors that you can throw in here, right? Someone else say something?
Did you want like an example?
Yeah, give me an example.
I said Nike sells the most shoes, therefore they must make the best shoes.
Yeah,
Which is I mean, I know it's wrong, but I just wrote an example.
yeah. This like just reminds me of the Dare generation, right? Everyone's doing it. Oh man. And so there's that whole bandwagon thing back from Dare. Like if everyone's doing a drug, it doesn't necessarily mean that drug's safe, right? Did Amanda have something to ask?
Yes. Is this out of the book?
Yes, this is straight from the book.
Because I'm having a hard time finding it in the book.
So this should be in chapter 1A. If you go to 1A, and it's really weird because the way that the book is divided, the chapter 1 is actually in like section 2. And it says like part 1 logic and something else. Are you using a physical book or the digital book? I guess that's my next question.
I'm using the digital book.
Okay, yeah, it should
They
be
have
the
a
digital
table
book.
of contents you can go to, and you can just click on where the questions are.
It's on like page 12, if that helps.
The fact that he is guilty.
Did you find it?
No, I don't think I'm on the right.
All right, I can do a share screen. So if you go to this thing, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, there should be
Yes.
a table. Yeah, there should be like a table of contents. And so we're going to this book. It should be in like this part 2 over here. Part 1, logic and problem solving. You go to like think critically. We're going to go to 1A, and then we're going to go to the exercises in 1A. Go to the exercises, and you should be able to pull these things up. Okay. So I think we covered 11 pretty much. Appeal to popularity, appeal to ignorance. Decades of searching have not revealed life on Earth. Oh, no, so sorry. Decades of searching have not revealed life on other planets. So life in the universe must be confined to Earth. So I'm going to ask first, I think maybe for the conclusion, what is the thing they are trying to conclude with this?
They have not revealed life on other planets. That's what I thought. Well, I might be wrong.
So are they basing the searching of not having found life on other planets to be life confined? Like which one is based on the other? What are they concluding?
Okay, so
Life is only on Earth.
Yeah, they're saying life is confined to Earth is their conclusion. Life in the universe, yeah, must be confined to Earth. This is their conclusion.
Are we supposed to like just write it out, or do we print it out to turn it in?
So that's kind of like all on like what you want to do, to be honest. If you have a printer, like not everyone has a printer, so we have to kind of work around that. But
Yeah, I wrote mine out.
But if you want to write these things out, that's fine. The main thing is that you're like writing out what it asks, right? You're writing conclusion, and you like write some sort of statement like this, right? Alternatively, you could just do what I'm doing. I wouldn't complain if you just underlined and labeled the premise and conclusion. But like the second and third part of this, you're gonna have to write some words out. So the conclusion is life must be confined to Earth. That is being based on the other thing. Searching has not revealed life, right? On other planets, I guess I could keep underlining. But this first part would be my premise. Okay, so what's wrong with that?
What'd you ask?
Like, what is wrong with this with this logic here?
I said just because we haven't found other life outside of Earth doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We can't base it off of what we haven't found.
Yeah, and this is a appeal to ignorance that's going on here, right? Just because we don't have evidence of something doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? And there's a lot of sort of reasons here that we know about the universe and life. Like we know, like we know we have discovered like a little blip in a big space, right? It's like we haven't discovered hardly any of the universe. There's a black swan example I'll talk about later in 1D that's kind of similar. So, what else? Maybe they took a look at life on Earth and like, you know, we're like, we don't want to talk to them people. That's also another possibility.
Okay, so life in the universe must be confined to Earth is the conclusion, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we talked a little bit about why this might be wrong. And the last thing that they want to know is they want you to give an example. So can you create an example of your own? That's probably like one of the hardest things, man. They make me.
Okay, so the thing is, it says life in the universe must be confined to Earth.
Uh-huh.
So that's false?
Yeah, but we don't care. We're just looking at the premise and the conclusion.
Oh, okay.
So this is not well supported by this premise. And in general, when you have a fallacy, your conclusion will probably be false, but it doesn't have to be. Right? I can come up with the true conclusion that is not well supported by my premises. That's something that can happen as well, right? This, we're looking at the structure of how things are pieced together here, right? And so this does not follow logically from this thing, right? There's a lot of gaps in there. There's a lot of things that can go awry, and that's what we're talking about. So given an appeal to ignorance example, oh man.
Oh, I think I have a good one.
Yeah, what's up?
But I'm not sure if it's right or not. But if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. Would that be an appeal to ignorance? Because I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these aren't definitively one what do I want to say, fallacy or another. They kind of fit into multiple things. So I think a lot of times it depends on how you defend it. So why would you say that's appeal to ignorance? How would you?
Because it's saying just because this one piece of evidence that they're using doesn't fit, you know, OJ's hand, then none of the other evidence matters, essentially. So because the glove doesn't fit, he's innocent.
I'm gonna have to think about this one for a second. I think that's a good one to think about.
Right? Because I was like, okay, so that could be appeal to ignorance, but also it could be limited choice.
Yeah, I think that would be more. If I were to put it into one, I think I would put that more into limited choice.
Okay.
Because it's like it's either OJ or it's no one, right? Or it's either this glove or not. It's like you're limiting a choice to something. This is more like.
So is this similar to like this? Okay, can I ask a question? Is this similar to saying that if I kneel, then I degrade if I kneel on the anthem, I degrade the military?
See, I would do that one with more of a limited choice. This is more like we don't have evidence of something. So there's a cliche one. I don't know. I don't think it's a good argument. But there's the theism argument that also goes with this, right? Just because we don't have evidence of a deity doesn't mean that that deity does not exist. So there's stuff like that. I'm trying to think of another good one. I mean, and being honest, like the last thing that they ask you to do to come up with your own example is probably one of the hardest things to do, right? Like there isn't a criminal record, therefore he's not a criminal, right? That might be another good one.
Yeah. Good one.
One that I thought of that both functions as an example and an explanation as to like the fallacy itself is the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's part of like in science, right? We have to actually create evidence to dismiss our hypothesis. That's like kind of the goal of science, is like you have to actually have evidence to dismiss something, right? So that's kind of within here as well, I think. Okay, so I think we got some examples. I think we know why that one's probably wrong. So limited choice, we kind of talked about this already. But he refused to testify by invoking the Fifth Amendment rights, so he must be guilty. So what is their conclusion there?
Guilt.
Lack of evidence, actually.
That's their conclusion. And why are they concluding that?
Well, we say he refused to testify,
Yep.
invoke the Fifth Amendment, so it's a lack of evidence. That doesn't mean he's guilty.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, yeah, and see, this is like where I'm going with that. Some of them don't have definitive. It's like one or the other. They can kind of be in both, right? It's like if you said this was a appeal to ignorance and you explained it correctly, I would give you credit for it. But I think what they're trying to get at here with the limited choice is he refused to testify by invoking his Fifth Amendment rights. So we're assuming he's guilty. And so
I did that right, though. Yeah, I did that right. That's good. So the premise is refuse to testify, and he must be guilty is the conclusion.
Yep.
Yeah, I got it right. Okay, that's good.
So like if we're writing it out to turn it in, do we just have to write the P and the C?
yeah, that's fine if you just write premise and conclusion. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
You just do P for premise, C for conclusion.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're
just
doing
remember,
something
like
like
P
this.
equals.
Maybe make sure I know which one's which if you're just underlining things. But here I think they're trying to limit your choice down. So he must be guilty. So to be honest, I don't really like their example on this one. It's okay. But they're making a sort of limited choice of he's either guilty or not, right? Yeah. And so why is this not follow from the premise?
I said innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, I was just being honest, I really don't like this. I feel like they could have done a lot better example with trying to do limited choice. Because this is going back, like if you have a false dichotomy, right? A false dichotomy is literally just a limited choice between two objects. You can have like a false trichotomy too, I guess, which is three objects. But what it means is you're only allowing certain things to happen, right? And so with limited choice means you're only allowing certain things to happen. Yeah, I don't really think this is a very good example of that. So he must be guilty. So I guess you're limiting his choice of being guilty, right?
You know,
either he uses the Fifth Amendment and he's guilty, or he doesn't use the Fifth Amendment, therefore he's not guilty, right? Is sort of what they're doing here.
Okay, but I don't know. I was watching this movie with this lady. I think she just died. She was a Supreme Court judge. I guess they made a movie about her or something. And it had to do with discrimination of gender. And so they refused to testify due to the past law. That doesn't mean that they were guilty. This means that they refused because they stated with the norm of the use of the law. So it was like they're privileged, right? But if you use saying you use the Fifth Amendment that you're guilty, and that you don't use it is not guilty. That's
So
not.
I think this is how they're trying to get at limited choice in this problem. And like I said, I don't like their example that much. So take it for what it's worth. So what they're trying to say is you use the Fifth, you're guilty. You don't use, you're not guilty. And so with limited choice, they're limiting the choice superficially, right? There are other choices out there. And
Yeah.
this is what they're limiting to. So can you come up with another thing that might be a choice? Well, they could use the Fifth and they could be not guilty, right? This is another possibility out there.
Yes.
So we're superficially limiting the possibilities between like two things. It could be between three things. When in reality, there's more options out there. And so, like I said, I don't think this is maybe the best example to get at limited choice. But this is how they're trying to construct it. I think the book said something like, if you don't support the president, then you're not patriotic or something, right? I think something along those lines. And then the problem with that is like the same sort of problem, right? Support the president, patriotic. Don't support the president, not patriotic.
Yeah.
You're like ignoring this whole other option that you could be patriotic and not supporting the president, right?
That's it.
Who could imagine that one? Okay.
That's good.
And so that's what they're trying to get at here, is that they're giving you only these two choices, right? And in reality, we know there's other things out there. Okay, so that was what, any other examples? Anybody got an example? There's one other one I can think of, like right off the top of my head, if no one else has one. So like, where are we at? What about like the two-party system, right? If you don't vote Democrat, you must vote Republican or something like that. The problem with that would be what? There's other things out there. You could not vote. You could vote third party.
There's an old religious argument called Pascal's wager that basically posits that sort of counts as this. The idea is that either the Christian God specifically could exist or not exist, but that eliminates, other religions from the equation. And it's used as a reason why, like, someone should be religious.
Yeah. Trying to think. I thought Pascal. Is he? Yeah. Okay. He was Christian. There was another one. I thought there was an older one that was like ancient Greek, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, that would be the limited choice sort of option, right? Personal attack. Senator Smith's bill on agricultural policy is a sham because he has accepted contributions from companies that sell genetically modified crops, seeds. So what is their conclusion? Oh, this one's a little different, huh?
I might have got this wrong.
What does he
I
say?
said that accepting contributions from companies.
Okay.
I put the conclusion as Senator Smith's bill on agriculture policy is a sham.
So one of them is the bill on agriculture policy is a sham, and one is he accepted contributions. So which one caused the other? In their mind, I know it's not right? It's fallacy. Which one caused the other? What are they basing which one on?
They're basing the policy being a sham off of him accepting contributions from
Yep.
companies that support GMOs.
Okay. So him accepting contributions is the premise, correct?
Yep, this is the premise that they're basing that on. Yep.
Uh,
So they're trying to conclude that his bill is a sham, and they're trying to do that premise on the fact that he has accepted contributions from companies that sell GMO crops. And again, like just because you're making a fallacy doesn't mean it's wrong. It's like a broke clock, right? That's the kind of the best example I can give. A broke clock is right twice a day. So you could be correct even though you're not doing appropriate logic, right? It could be correct that his bill is a policy sham. And it could be in part, this could be like a factor that kind of shows that, right? But is it a necessary conclusion that his policy is a sham based on the contributions?
I don't know. I kind of just thought that, that they are saying that his accepted contributions and him saying that the bill on agricultural policy is a scam. That's a statement. So I thought that was like a premise. And then it concluded because he's accepted contributions. So I kind of got it wrong.
Okay. So
I don't know, but that's how I felt it should have been. But
they're basing this statement and they're basing it, their evidence for it is here, right?
Right.
This is the evidence that they're using to draw this thing.
Right.
Yep. And so
in other words, I should have said that okay, go ahead.
Okay, so what is wrong with this? Like, why and why, like, kind of like play devil's advocate on these things, right? Like what could go awry in this? Like, why? Give me an example of something that might be true that like maybe makes this an invalid sort of conclusion, right?
Having a successful trade career.
Yeah, exactly. The policy itself could be that if he has a successful trade career, right? He's probably going to have money ties to large corporations. A lot of people that are successful within this world have ties to things. It doesn't necessarily.
I'm so sorry. I thought we were on 19. It makes sense for 19. It doesn't make sense for 17. Sorry.
Oh no. Oh, okay. Well, it makes a little bit of sense.
I mean, we can roll with it.
Yeah. So like he could be, nothing about him accepting like money is going to affect, well, I want to say nothing about him accepting money necessarily directly affects this policy that he wrote, right? This could be a good policy. And this goes back to even like bad people make good decisions sometimes, right? What if he's a horrible person and he just wrote a good policy? That's also something that can happen in reality and does happen in reality. He could be a horrible money-taking, money grubber and still write a good bill for once in his life. Like, this does not actually address the bill whatsoever, right? Nothing we say in the premise actually addresses anything to do with the bill. It addresses Senator Smith directly. And that's where the personal attack is coming in, right? Or ad hominem attack.
So, all right. So let me get this understanding here. The bill on the agricultural policy is a sham. So that's an assumption. We don't know for sure, but
that's what they're trying to say.
Okay, but what I'm saying is on the assumption, it says it's a premise. But then again, it says it has accepted contributions from companies because it's covering the conclusion of the policy being a sham. So I don't know, I'm just confused a little bit, but I understand it. It just seems kind of different, say it like that.
Yeah, I was just confused at first with this one just because they put the conclusion before the premise. I think that threw me off a little bit, but
Yeah. So they change it around a little bit here, right?
yeah, I figured that's what they were trying to do. Is
But
just
here's another good thing. So keywords, right? What does that say right there? Because. And so if you're using the word because, this is your justification. If you're telling me something because something, right? That because is like indicating, hey, here's my premise that I'm justifying it on, right?
yeah.
So yeah. So being careful with wording, and absolutely, and that's why I'm kind of glad they threw this one out. Premise, conclusion. Okay. How many more we got in this section? $19. Diversion.
This is my trade school argument.
Good grades are needed to get into college, and a college diploma is necessary for a career. Therefore, attendance should count in high school grades. Okay, I can see that. What's their conclusion?
Good grades are needed to get into college.
I said the conclusion was attendance should count in high school grades.
I would say too, right?
So the conclusion's pretty much always the point they're trying to get across.
Yeah, it's the thing that they're drawing there. That therefore word is a good indicator that that's going to be your conclusion after that, right? Thus, therefore, this is the thing that I'm going to conclude, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if that, then all this stuff, good grades, getting to college, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's all your premise. All that stuff about good grades, that whole sentence there. How is this a diversion?
Because attendance doesn't always reflect a student's, I guess, like work ethic or learning ability. So
Yeah, I mean this word they just kind of pull out of nowhere, right? They don't even mention it one bit throughout this sentence. It's like good grades, you need good grades. Yeah, for a college diploma, and you need a college diploma to be successful.
yeah, success.
And let me tell you this, as a teacher, the correlation between what your attendance and your grade is a very high correlation. Let me say that. But there are those outliers, right? There are people who never come to class that just like, they know what they're doing, and there's people that always come to class and they're not really in class. They're just sitting there brain dead and don't do good in class, right?
Yeah.
So that's where you go awry. Got a diversion? I don't know. This is one of those things you can almost say anything on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to leave y'all with trying to come up with an example for diversion on your own. I got to leave y'all to do a few of these on your own a little bit. I want to go on. What does it say? So in the following arguments, identify the premise and conclusion, explain why the argument is deceptive, and if possible, identify the type of fallacy it represents. Okay, so we're looking at these 25, 27, 35. We're on the next page. I ate oysters for dinner. Later that night, I had a nightmare. Oysters caused my nightmare. So what's the conclusion here?
Oysters cause
a nightmare.
Yeah, oyster nightmare. What's my premise?
I ate oysters for dinner, and later I had a nightmare.
Yep. Do you remember which fallacy this is?
I said it was, I don't know if it's right, but I said it was appeal to ignorance. Or maybe even a...
Is this false conclusion?
This would be like a false conclusion. Is that what they call it in the book? There's another name
I
for
don't
it.
remember.
Yeah, it would be like a false conclusion. There's another word for it. You're very hasty in the way you make this.
Mhm.
Hasty generalization.
It's the hasty generalization. Something happened once, therefore that's the way it must always be. Like I washed my car and it rained, therefore if I wash my car it's gonna rain. All the nurses in Belvedere Hospital are women, so women are better qualified for medical jobs.
So women are better qualified for medical jobs would be the conclusion.
And the premise they're basing that on is
Princess.
And which one is this? Do you remember which one this is?
I had trouble coming up with the type of fallacies it was, but I said maybe appeal to popularity.
Yeah, it's exactly it. That's the one.
Okay.
All of them are women. So they must be the best. What about 35?
Opposes a ban on large capacity magazines for ammunition. Be the
Yeah, that would be a
conclusion.
conclusion. The premise is the other thing.
Membership.
Which one would y'all label this one as?
Straw man.
Yeah, I could see straw man.
I was gonna say
The false choice one, the OJ example that we had used earlier.
The false dichotomy. Yeah, the limited choice.
Limited choice.
Yeah, I could see that one. See, personally, I don't know what they have in the book. I didn't look at these solutions. Personally, I think this might be a personal attack. Maybe.
it is a personal attack.
Yeah, I think it's personal attack because they're saying she is a member of NRA. Therefore, she opposes large capacity things. So this is like she's a member of NRA. They're assuming because of that, as a person, that she would oppose a large capacity ban. So this one, if you, like I said, if you write something, write a little bit of justification why you choose that fallacy, and I think you could probably get points for most of the stuff that y'all said as long as you explain it correctly. Because I can see why you're saying what you're saying, and I don't think y'all are off in like the way that y'all are processing this, right? One of the hardest things to do is follow something that is wrong. I don't know how to say it. It's like follow it wrong and then tell me where it goes wrong and tell me where it's right. It's like, God. Okay. Choices to consider following values which are not discussed in a text. Okay, so in this one, you might want to look through these like 41 through 44. They do like start introducing some new ones. So explain why the fallacy applies to the example and create your own argument. So slippery slope has the form X has occurred and is related to Y, so Y will inevitably occur. So these, do they give you an example on this next page? Or am I just like, no, I don't know what example they're talking about. 43, oh yeah, they do. Oh darn, I don't have that page, shoot. I didn't think there was anything on that page.
Yeah, I never saw any examples either.
Okay, so the example that they give, let me go. Well, knocking stuff over.
Well, did you do 43 already?
I have the example for 43 up.
Are we doing all 52 of the problems? Or are we picking out?
We're picking the ones from the exercises. So 52. Where's 43 is what we're on, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
43 example says America has sent troops to 3 countries recently. Before you know it, we will have troops everywhere. So let me paste that in the chat since I didn't do that. That is what they're arguing. So how does that fit this structure?
Because can you repeat the example one more time?
It's in the chat. So it says America has sent troops to 3 countries recently. Before you know it, we will have troops everywhere. So what
So
is
I
the
guess-
X that they're talking about?
The X would be America already sending troops to 3 countries recently.
So it's America sent troops part. Answers, ain't I? Troops everywhere is what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And so this is slippery slope. So what else is that?
You're cutting in and out a lot.
Okay. What? Does anybody have an example for this one?
I don't know if it's a good one, but I made one saying we've already sent troops to the moons, or not troops, we've already sent people to the moon, so it's only a matter of time before we reach Mars. I didn't know if that was a...
Yeah, that's a good slippery slope.
I don't know. I just stated.
There's a few I can think of, and they're all like pretty controversial for the most part.
Mine was that we have installations in almost every country in the world. So sending
Man.
troops to countries.
Y'all are really picking up on the troop part. Like, there's other things we can talk about.
What about like I had a drink or a couple of drinks all week. Pretty soon I'll turn into an alcoholic.
Yeah. I don't know. The two I can really think about, like, was like, you know, homosexuality got relegated to like bestiality somehow. That would be a slippery slope, right? Saying that like allowing homosexuality is going to lead to bestiality. That's a pretty obvious slippery slope. Another one I can think of is, God, what is? I had it and then I just lost it. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. So we have one last problem in this section. Oh, this is where they ask you to find a website and research and stuff.
Yeah. I hadn't done that one yet.
Okay, so that might be a good exercise for you to go do on your own. It shouldn't take you that long. I'm not expecting too much out of that. Just write me a short statement or something. Copy and paste a reliable website. Is this the one that says find a reliable one? There's one that tells you to like find a horrible one too. A fake news website. I think it's that 52. I think tells you to visit a fake news website. That's great. So that might be worth noting because there is totally a fake news website that is called like apc.com.co or something crazy like that. I think it's defunct now, but it was up for quite a long time. All right. Now I think we're finally getting to everyone's favorite section, 1B. So in these first ones, they want to determine whether these things are propositions. So what makes something a proposition?
Oh, what makes a proposition?
Mhm.
Geez.
It is what or what?
They're either making like a true or false claim.
It's either an assertion or a denial.
You can
That makes a
verify it
claim.
as being true or false, right?
Yeah.
Is it asserting something or is it denial? So it's an assertion of something that's true or it's denying something, right? So the sky is the limit. Is that a proposition?
I had trouble with that one just because, I mean, this I don't know. I said it was.
Yes, it is correct.
So I said,
Is it true that the sky is the limit?
no, I said false.
Or not? It could be false. So if you're telling me it's false, guess what? It can be true or false. Therefore, it's a proposition.
All right.
So it is something that can be verified as being true or false, right?
Right. Because the sky isn't the limit. Because when you do go past the sky, what do you get to?
I don't know. So we don't even really care whether it's true or false at this point. To tell if it's a proposition, it doesn't matter whether it's true or false. It's just whether it can be true or false. Because if we look at like 15, Back to the Future,
It's not a proposition.
proposition.
No.
Is there any way I can verify Back to the Future is true or false?
Mm-mm.
Does this make sense? If we juxtapose these two statements, hopefully, and look at like how they are, sort of thing. The sky is the limit is making a claim about the sky being a limit. This is making no sort of claim. It's just a statement about something. So there's no way to verify this. There is a way to verify this, right?
Mhm.
Any questions over those two? Are we getting this down, hopefully? 15.
Just a quick question.
Uh-huh.
So homework for 1A, we went over a few of them. And that looks like questions 11 through 52 or 1 through 52.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm hoping y'all have this thing too, right?
Yeah, I do.
This thing
Oh.
was like, it's hidden in your syllabus or in the same spot your syllabus is on Blackboard. These are the problems we're going over.
Gotcha.
Do we do the rest on our own?
Yeah, if I don't finish any of these problems, they're completely up to you to do, basically.
Okay, but we don't have to do like the ones in between.
No, those are just these problems that are suggested.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I have a question as well. You may have already mentioned this already, but is the homework due tonight at 12?
See, I mentioned this, and I think I'm going to change it. It's due tonight at 12, but I think I'm going to give you till tomorrow night at 12.
Great. Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
I think I'm going to give y'all an extra, like, 24 hours there
Great.
for your assignments. Because it's pretty quick. I don't know what y'all are doing with your lives, and I know things are hectic, so I'm going to give y'all a little more time, I think.
I have a question. Will that be the same for each assignment? Or
I'm going to try to make it the same for each assignment, yes.
Great, thanks.
And so, with that said, even if you're late trying to turn something in, submit it. I don't know what to say. Like, the worst case scenario is I won't grade it. But usually, if I haven't graded things, I'm not looking at dates that with that sharply, to be honest, right? If it's in the grade book and it's there to grade, I'll probably end up grading it. But with that said, if you don't turn it on time, there ain't no guarantees it'll get graded. So, don't play that game, is what I'm trying to say. Write the negation of the given proposition, then state the truth value of the original proposition in its negation. The Beatles were not a German band. So if I want to negate that, if you want to negate something, you can always say, it is not the case that. So we could say it is not the case that the Beatles were not a German band. Say that. The Beatles. Sorry. What would I say? The Beatles. How would I do the negation of that? And it really is that simple. If that's what's confusing you, I'm not asking for anything too crazy. It's that double negative thing, right? How would I negate this?
So, are you asking us to like basically rephrase it to say the Beatles, or
We're a German band?
Say it.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking for. That's the negation of that sentence. So we have a statement or proposition, and we have its negation. Now we need to tell which one is true, which one is false. Yeah.
The Beatles were not a German band.
I probably just made everyone mad by saying the Beatles suck, because they're like the most popular band. I like the Beatles. I'm just like, I'm being a smart ass. Don't take me too seriously. The Beatles were not a German band. Is that true or false?
True.
This is true. And if that's true, guess what? Your negation should be false, right?
Mm.
It should always be opposite. So the Beatles were a German band? No, they weren't. That's false. Questions about this?
No.
Okay. So this is the first sort of like logical sort of thing that we start applying to things, right? What did it say? Logical operatives. And so this is like the not. We can always throw a not in front of things. We can always turn a true statement to a false statement. It's either P or not P. To P or not to P. That is the question.
So they say here. Okay, can you explain number 23? Because that one was.
Okay. Yeah, these are annoying. Like, I hope, like, if anybody talks to you like this, I don't know, man. I would just, like, I have to resist, like, the urge to slap them, I think. Right? Sarah did not decline the offer to go to dinner. Did she go to dinner?
Yeah, that's annoying. I don't even know where to go with that. It's like he's saying, she's asking did she go.
So if you do not decline, that's a double negative, right?
Yeah.
Is what they're trying to get at. So did she go to dinner? Yeah, I would say yes, right? Because that's a double negative.
So when it's a double negative, what is the symbol? When it's a double negative, what is the symbol?
Here, double negative. Oh, there really is no symbol for a double negative. We just put two negatives. So if we do the not P, right? We're just going to throw another not in front of there.
Oh, so it's N parentheses, NP parentheses?
Is that what you're doing? There's always a different symbol for this negation. Sometimes they'll do a little.
Yeah, okay, well, that's where I'm having an issue.
Sometimes they'll do a little tilde.
I don't know the symbolism of it. I don't know the symbolism. Oh, okay.
Sometimes they'll do the little tilde. I think the book uses the little tilde symbol, right? Is that what they use?
Okay, I know that part, but I didn't know about a double negation. I didn't know what that was.
We're just adding two negations.
Okay, let's see.
And it's like here, right? We add a negation, we're going to get to this statement. We add another negation, we're going to get to this statement. We add another negation, we'll get to this statement. So all we're doing with negations is we're kind of bouncing around, right? We're from true to false.
Okay.
I feel like there's a lot of ways you could actually answer that question. Because just because she did not decline the offer doesn't mean she necessarily went, right?
If you do not decline, no, I think that does mean you accept.
You could just not give an answer.
That's true. I guess there's a not giving an answer. But if you don't give an answer, then that's maybe perceived as declining. Just not having the spine to tell them that you declined. I don't know.
Yeah, she's saying that, and like in other words, like she's aware that she could decline the offer to go to dinner.
I think what they're trying to get at is not declining. It's like a double negative, 2 knots makes a guess. That's what they're really just trying to get at here. And it's really annoying if you read any of these sentences. Like, I would slap the person that told me that, right? Like, don't do this in your language. It's not a healthy way to communicate with people. Okay. Now we want and statements. So what is the thing about and statements? For an and statement for it to be true, what has to be true?
They each
And Q.
Everything. Everything has to be true, right? So if one thing is not true, we can just like reject it as false, right? So that's the sort of like strategy with and. And is like really, really restrictive, right? We want everything to be true. I want a doggy and a pony and $1 million. Dogs are animals and oak trees are plants. Let's look at dogs are animals first. Is that true or false?
true.
This is true. Trees are plants. Is that true or false?
True.
So overall, this entire statement, is it true or false?
True.
True.
True. So like the sort of strategy behind this thing is we have like these things that are called propositions. So I'll get it out in a minute. These are called propositions. Dogs are animals is a proposition in itself. Oak trees are plants is a proposition in itself. We can put these two propositions together with this thing called an and statement. And it creates a third proposition. All birds can fly and some fish live in trees. So first things first. All birds can fly. Is that true?
No.
No.
False.
And so overall, I want to talk about this statement before even reading that other thing. Is this a true or false statement?
No, it's a false statement.
Overall?
It's true, isn't it?
All birds.
Because they're both
Okay,
false.
so birds can fly,
The
but not
second you
all
get
birds
one-
can fly.
So the second you get one false, the entire thing is false.
Okay.
Everything has to be true for it to be true.
Okay.
And I guess we can go ahead and make some fish live in trees. Oh God, I don't know. Maybe. There might be some weird stuff out here, but I think we're trying to false. Tree roots. There's those habitats. There's man-made lakes. Actually, like I think every lake but like one lake in Texas is man-made, from my understanding. Like all our lakes are man-made here in Texas.
So would this be a okay? Even though that we are in a category, do you still use the P and the N for these? Even though we're under another.
Are you talking about the P's and Q's?
Yeah. Do we still use the double negation and the proposition, even though we're doing another?
We can use things in conjunction, right? So this, if I wanted to do it, it looks like P and. I don't know if they do this symbol, but P and Q. Another way to do and is with a little hat symbol. So you can put this. You can put things together, right? We can put things together like P, Q. Yeah, see that? We can start putting symbols together. We can do not P and Q. There's a lot of ways we can piece these things together and do multiple sort of things at the same time, right?
What is the P and is it saying it's greater than Q?
No, this is a little hat symbol. It's what they use for the word and. So sometimes you might see that symbol there.
Okay.
We'll get to or and you'll probably laugh a little more. So 35, 37, 39. 37. They want us to make a truth table. So they want us to make it for Q, R, and S. And talk a little bit about this.
Okay.
How many different lines should I have on this truth table?
3.
Huh?
Well, 3 columns. 3 columns.
How many rows?
8.
There should be 8. And this comes from the fact that we're doing 3 options. It's actually 2 2/3 is one way that you can do it. We're always going to multiply by 2, right? For one thing, we have 2 options. For 2 things, we have 4 options. For 3 things, we're going to have 8 options. So each time we're going to double the amount of options that we have every time we add a proposition. So that's probably why we're not going to try to do more than like 3 or 4 propositions, because 4 is already, what, 16? We go to 5, we're going to be at 32 different options. That's, you want to write 32 different, no, I don't want to. Okay, so we want to do this. We want to account for every like true and false value that we can out there, right? So the first thing is that they can all be true. And there's a few. This is the pattern that I sort of follow. One of them can be false. That little false gets its way to the left side. That's all the different ways one of them can be false. Now I want to think about all the different ways. Those 2 can be false. And then I kind of let this one dance over there. And now this one needs to dance over there. All the ways. The 2 of those guys can be false. And the last one is that they can all be false. Is there a way I can zoom out on this a little bit? Maybe. I don't know. Can I get them all in there at once? The first one's true, true, true. The last one's false, false, false. And all the top patterns in the middle, right? This is the 3 different ways we can have 1, 3 different ways we can have 2 falses. And if we do that, they want us to do Q and R and S. Or you can Q.
Oh, so when you do a single one, when you do a single QRS, then you do an and QRS?
Yeah, so we're looking at these separately. So if Q is true, R is true, and S is true, what can we say about Q and R and S? So this is like one statement now.
True.
So if they're all true, this is true. If one of them is false, if Q is true, R is true, and S is false, what does that make this?
False.
False. Someone's coming in. Come on in. Come on down. Okay. And what if R is false, but Q is true and S is true? This is still going to be false. So how do I fill out the rest of this table? I'm just going to ask all that.
False.
It's all falses. The only place this thing should be true is right here where let me double check, make sure. Okay. Whew. I did put 8 on there. I would always like double check and make sure you got all 8 on there, because it's one of those things. It's really easy to miss one of these lines, right? So the first one should be true. Everything else has at least one false in it. So overall, with an and statement, it's going to be false. So and is really, really demanding. It wants everything to be true, right? If I want a dog and a pony and $1 million, you better give me all 3 of them things, right? Or I'm not going to be happy. Okay. Oh man. Okay, so R or S, where are we at now? No, we didn't do 39. Okay. I'll give you the symbol. R or S. we flip the hat upside down.
Mm.
So for and, it looks like that. It's like right side up or whatever. And here it's like an upside down. So if you see those symbols, that's what they mean. I don't think this book uses those symbols. I'm just like kind of throwing them out there. If you see them in live, that's what they mean, right? I think for the most part, we're just going to use the words for these things. Oh, let me zoom in a little bit again. Okay, so state whether or is used in the inclusive or exclusive. So what is meant by inclusive? Ooh, excuse me. Drink too much coffee. What is meant by inclusive or exclusive? What do we include or exclude? And I talked a little bit about this in the notes. So inclusive means inclusive means P or Q, or we can do what?
Both.
Both. So inclusive means both. Exclusive means not both. So we want to think, can we do both of these? I will either walk or ride a bike to the park.
I said it was exclusive.
Yeah.
Can't do both, I guess.
Yeah, and I think this is like that physical limit. Here they're saying it's exclusive. I guess you could walk part of the way and then ride part of the way. That's not what they're trying to get at. Don't think about that.
I thought it was inclusive because he can still get to the park either or. Walk
So
over.
you can do it either way. You can walk or you can ride, but can you do both? Is it possible to walk and ride a bike to the park
Yes.
at the same time?
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so I think that's why they're saying this is exclusive.
Oh, okay.
We can't do both at the same time.
All right.
Right? It's impossible to like walk and ride a bike at the same time, I think is what they're trying to get at here. I don't really, to be honest, I don't think they have the best examples for exclusive, inclusive in here. But I think, again, it's with the reasoning that you have behind it, right? Can I do both of them at the same time? No. I would like to scuba dive or surf on my next vacation. Is it possible for him to do both?
Yes, inclusive.
So this one would be inclusive. And sort of like, this is sort of the context. You also have to pull in like meaning from what you know about things for these sorts of problems sometimes. So I will either walk or ride a bike. If someone says that, do they mean that they're going to do both typically? They mean they're going to do one or the other, right?
Okay,
and another
so
thing.
that's where I was, okay, so I didn't want to say anything, but I just thought that when you use those words because and therefore, so you have this word where the either.
That's it. I was about to circle that. Either or, right? And anytime you see either or, that is almost always. I can't think of one
Okay.
scenario where it wouldn't be. Although there might be one out there, so don't quote me on that. But almost always when you see either or, I'm going to do either this or that. That is exclusive, right? They're saying they're going to do one or the other, but they're definitely not going to do both, right?
Okay, so then why in the same aspect is the scuba dive or the surf an inclusive? Because you can do both.
So this one, if I told you I would like to scuba dive or surf on my next vacation, and I went and scuba dove and surfed on my next vacation, would that be okay?
You can't do both.
Why not? It's your vacation.
Okay, so then why can't you do both to the park? That you can't do. Okay, so let me say this: you can't do it at the same time. You can't scuba dive and at the same time.
But the
I feel
vacation
like
could be
one
multiple days.
is a conscious decision. Like he's like, I will either, and one's like, I would like to. Like the options are still in the air. You know?
So,
Yeah.
I'm confused. So I'm not gonna say it.
See, I think this is the wording in this problem. It says like I'm gonna ride a bike to the park. It sounds like he's gonna do that at the same time when you phrase it this way. And so
Yeah,
maybe
like-
I wouldn't maybe like focus on this as I would focus on like the either or. Anytime you see an either or, he's saying I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do this, but I'm not going to do both, right?
All right.
So this is bringing in context of what you know about like how people kind of speak. But also the word either should be kind of a dead giveaway that this is the exclusive one.
Okay. So because the word either is not there, this is the thing that he can do both at the same.
Yeah, if the word either wasn't there, I would be much more inclined to call this inclusive.
Because you can do both of them, but you can't do both of them at the same time. Either scuba dive and surf. There's no way.
You can do them both on your vacation, right?
Oh, and do walk line. Okay, I'll get it. Just not today. That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
Like
And in general, what we're going to do when we talk in math and in logic in general, they use the inclusive or. And so this is going back to like, we're not logical beings and our language is not logical, right? We actually mean different things when we use the word or. Okay. So we want to do some truth tables. Okay, so for the truth table, so they have two propositions. There should be a total of 4 lines happening there. And in general, like I said, we typically do the inclusive unless we're told otherwise. So we're doing the inclusive. So if it's true or true, what is my R or S?
Or arrow down. Oh, I thought you said R arrow. I thought you was talking about the symbol of or.
R or S.
Yes.
So if we're looking at if R is true and S is true, what about R or S? Is that true or false?
True.
This one is true because we're doing the inclusive, right? What about this? This next line, if R is true and S is false, this should be overall?
True.
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 True, and the last one should be?
False.
False. So or is not really picky. We just need one thing that's true for this thing overall to be true. Okay. Keep cutting it out. Vacuously true comes in the conditionals if-then statements. And that's a weird one, and I don't know what else to say, but it's weird, so we'll have to go, right? So that's the R or S. If I do P or Q or R, did I do that? P or Q or R? Oh, these are different.
So every time we look at this scenario of the charts, this is how we are to complete them.
Yeah, and then to be honest, there's different ways to do this pattern. But you got to make sure you have all your options there. This is the way that I just do it out of the way I did things. I don't know. So I don't want to spend all day like trying to fill this thing out. Describe to me how this part over here should look.
They're all true except the last one,
They're
which
all
is false.
true. They're all true except for the last one where they're all false. So this one's false. Everything else that we write has at least one truth in it. And that's all we need for an or statement is one thing to be true. Okay.
Oh, what is that TFTT?
Where?
I was just looking at your symbols. I mean, at the pattern. Can I see the pattern?
TTT, TTF. It's the same as that previous one that we did with 3 variables. So if you want to look back at that one, it will give you like all the patterns that we did.
Okay.
Yeah. 51. Elephants are animals or elephants are plants. Okay. Now we're getting weird. This is great. Elephants are animals. God, I'm sure this one's false. I don't know what to tell you. Probably in the wrong class. That part, that first proposition is true. That second proposition is false. Overall, what does that say about this sentence? Is it true or false?
True.
It is true. And why is it true?
Because elephants are animals.
Mainly because of that guy. This guy is the guy that's pulling his weight, and he's pulling the weight of elephants as animals. So, quite a bit there. Now we get to see how this applies to math maybe a little bit, right? We're finally doing some numbers in math. Look at that. 3 times 15. I'll go ahead and give it to you. I know this is a math class. I should be making you do the math, but that's true. That one would also be true. So what can I say overall about this statement?
It's true.
Yeah. Okay, let me do this. I'm running for office.
If I'm elected, then
If I'm elected, then I'll lower the taxes. That's what I'm telling you. So now we're going to think about this. Think about that statement. This is where the weird stuff comes in. We're going to talk about it. R. Okay, sorry. Let's scribble this out and say R.
What
We have
number is
P
this
and we
for?
R. Which one? What?
What problem is this for?
57.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, that's the next one. We're getting close. We got to talk about this weird thing, and that's about it. If P, then R. So this is the same thing. I can have 2 true and have 1 false. Both P. So if I'm elected to office, then I'll lower taxes. So what happened in this scenario? I was elected to office, and I lowered taxes. Am I a liar, or am I telling the truth?
True.
I am telling you the truth. what happened in this scenario? I was elected to office, but I did not lower taxes. Am I a liar or am I telling you the truth?
False.
Yeah. I was elected to office and I did not follow through on my promise.
That's true.
Now, these are the two things. These are the two things that I hope like jump out at you. Like, as a statement, like these should be the straightforward ones. The next two are the ones that are a little wonky, right? So, I was not elected to office, but I still used my mojo and I got them taxes lowered somehow. Is
That
it true?
would still be true, right?
Is it true that when I said if I'm elected to office, then I'll lower taxes? We still assume this to be true. A lot of times you'll hear that word vacuously. It's vacuously true. That's going to come up in the next scenario too, right? I'm not elected and taxes did not get lowered. Does that mean I'm a liar?
No.
When I went and said if I was elected, I'd lower taxes? No, it doesn't mean I'm a liar. So these are the things we kind of assume to be true, even though we don't really have like evidence of them being true. And we don't have evidence mainly because this thing over here, our antecedent isn't met, right? And so the condition that we're like trying to base things on isn't met. And so we kind of default. There's no way we can really call him a liar. So we kind of vacuously assume it to be true. Do I need to think of another way to describe that? How do I go about that? Good question. It is like one of those weird things. But I think maybe this example.
When I'm doing the inclusive on the RS and the OR statement, they're totally different as far as what the outcomes are. And so I have to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
If statement or statement.
This
is an if statement here.
This is an if-then statement or a conditional statement. And like we use these things kind of all the time, right? We use if-then conditional statements. It's implying some sort of relationship between these things, typically a causal relationship. Anything with a causal relationship, you can use an if-then statement on. If I flick the light, or if I flick the switch, the light's going to come on, right? All these sorts of things are if-then statements. So we have a little bit of work on if-then statements. So we want to identify the hypothesis and conclusion, state their truth values, then determine whether the entire proposition is true or false. Okay, so if trout can swim, then trout are fish. Swim. Is that my hypothesis or conclusion?
Hypothesis.
That's my hypothesis.
Hypothesis.
Yeah, just getting the vocabulary down, right? Then trout or fish, that would be my conclusion. My hypothesis, can trout swim? Hopefully. They're going to have some problems if they can't. Are trout fish?
True.
True. Overall, is this statement true or false?
True.
True, then true statement. It is a true statement. Okay, so I think these ones, they're a little weird, but these make a little bit of sense. It's those vacuously true ones that really like they just seem like we're speaking gibberish. So let's look at this. If trees can walk, then birds wear wigs. So my hypothesis in this sentence is which one?
If trees can walk.
Trees can walk, and birds wear wigs. I hope you don't have much problem picking up the hypothesis and conclusion and ones, because they're all if-then statements, right? And it's always if hypothesis then conclusion. Trees can walk. Are we in Middle Earth? No, I don't think so. Turn Lord of the Rings up in here. That movie was so boring the trees could walk. So anyway, birds wear wigs. I think they're trying to say this one's false. They don't typically wear wigs. I guess there's probably some certain scenarios where they do. But as a generality note, there were those pigeons, those poor pigeons, they glued hats on. That's kind of cruel. So anyway, overall, if I'm looking at this sentence, is this a true statement or a false statement?
It's true statement.
Let's follow this for a minute. This is a true statement. Why are you saying this is a true statement?
Because it's the double negative.
Oh, yeah, because this is false and this is false. Go back, look at our table we came up. If they are both false,
then they're true.
Then overall, this is true, right? If trees can walk, then birds can wear wigs. If monkeys can fly, then pigs can fly, right? Something like that. You come up with two absurdities that make no sense, or you can come up with one absurdity and something that doesn't make sense.
So this one is called, oh no.
It's one of those that's vacuously true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those ones always make really weird statements. But if we start by assuming something false, anytime our hypothesis is false, what can I automatically jump to? I can jump to this thing being true, because this is never going to be true, right? And it's just like you're making an absurd statement at that point. You're making one of those vacuously true statements anytime you make this thing false. This, on the other hand, I'll give this to you. My hypothesis is going to be dogs can swim. I believe most dogs can swim. I think they're trying to say that's true. Then dogs are fish. Maybe, but no. Dogs are definitely not fish. Overall, now we're looking at this overall. Is this a true or false statement?
It's a true statement.
It is
False.
Oh, careful now.
False statement.
This is false, and this is the one way that it will be false, right?
True, false. I said it false. Is it vacuous? Okay, so this could be one of those vacuous things again.
This is not a vacuous because this is.
So then it's not as false. Okay, yeah.
If it's false, then it's vacuous, right? As soon as our hypothesis is true, it's true dogs can swim. We have to look at this one to see whether it's true or false. So if this is true, we have to look at this one to determine overall, right? If this is false, it's going to be false. If this is true, it's true. But if this is false, we can just kind of like ignore that second part even. We don't even care what the conclusion is. If that first part is false, overall that statement's automatically true. And I kind of mentioned it. There are reasons why we assume things to be true, right? And part of it's that Boolean algebra that I was talking about. When we go and do Boolean algebra, we want things to sort of work out in a certain fashion. I did everything, man. I did everything for y'all. What do y'all need?
Well, I mean, it's.
I was trying not to do all the work. I'm trying to save some for y'all.
I'm glad you did do it. You know.
No, this is good. This one is these concepts are weird, and we do need to go over them, right? Especially the vacuously true stuff. It is kind of weird. And I think some things might get a little more solidified when we get over to like 1C, 1D. So 1C, we're going to be doing Venn diagrams. I should get that up pretty shortly. I have the notes ready for it. I just got to record the video and put it up. Like I said, I'm a little bit behind on putting the videos up. I felt sick last night, but they should be up shortly, 1C, 1D. Are there any questions over anything we did today that you might want to see again?
I'll just have to get it.
Yeah, I mean,
because I just kind of confused. So let's just hypothetically, if trees can walk, we just say true. if it's true, then the whole statement is false, correct?
Yep. If this
so
is
now, okay, so and when it says here, if dogs can swim, even though that's a true statement, the dogs or fish are false. But you're saying false for the whole thing.
Yep.
Okay. So if it's a true statement, then it's false. If it's a false statement at the beginning, then it's true.
Yeah, we'll go back to this thing.
Okay.
And we're kind of looking at these separately. So if the first part is true, then we look at the second part to determine whether it's true or false. So like this one, we have two examples, right? We have 59. The first part was true. The second part was true. So the overall it was true. So anytime it's true, like this one or this one, you have the second half to tell whether it's true or false, right? But anytime this is false, I can just I don't even have to look at this thing. If it's false, then something else, it's always just true, right? Going back to this truth table, if the first one's false, it's just going to be true overall. And it's going to be sort of that vacuously true. It's true because we haven't met our antecedent or what do they call it? Hypothesis, right? Sometimes they would call this antecedent and consequent. Your antecedent causes, right? Sometimes you'll hear that word, the antecedent causes to something. It's like the reasons why something happens. That's what they're talking about. I think we're getting close to the end. Okay. So I'll set that I'll set that date back on your homework. I'll throw this back at me so you can see me. Okay, so what do y'all need? Anything? Any questions? We're like right at the end of class.
Yeah.
So just to be clear on the homework for 1A, as long as we can like justify why we're saying something is the fallacy we think it is, it's
yeah,
cool.
I think I think for the most part, as long as what you're saying makes sense, I think you'll get most of the credit for it, you know?
Okay.
I think you'll be pretty safe.
Yeah, because a lot of the fallacies they give, like, definitely could be multiple.
Yeah, and when I write my problems, I try to reduce that by like giving you sort of limited choice and stuff. If that makes some sense. I try to make it really leading into which one it is.
Got it.
So on the back of my paper, I'll try to put it in the front. Try to make small letters. I'll do the charts for RNS and PRQR. P or Q or R.
Oh man.
So like the charts that you have here on 37 and the if chart and the, oh, excuse me, not the if chart, I'm sorry.
He does a really good job in the YouTube video of breaking it down. I think it's in like the second half, but it's all there, super easy, written out.
All right. So do you need to see the chart on the paper, on the 1B?
Yeah. So that's part of the homework. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna